Okay, well, believe it or not, I started this video and realized I never hit record. So here we are again. We're back on the chassis. There isn't a video on the cab because there really wasn't that much to show this past week. But next week we'll definitely have a video, and I think a lot to show for it. I think you'll think that way anyway. I start out by showing you something that can go wrong when you're building a project like this. These are 4-bolt flanges with the bearing in it, obviously. And I cut one of the flanges off because I thought I knew exactly what I was going to do. Unfortunately, the process changed. These are 1¼ inch holes. These are inch holes. And I changed the design, so cutting this one flange off was a mistake. Now, I obviously can't send them back since I cut them up, but that's some of the things that happen when you're into a project, and you just got to flow with it. Well, this week I got both sides for the suspension in position. On this side, I came up short on pipe, as always the case. Something slows you down. And so all I have is what you see here. The other side has been finished as far as everything is tacked in place. Then we now have the control arm, which ties the rocker arm and coil over to the actual, I always forget what it's called, trailing link. So here we have it just mocked, well, it's not mocked up, it's tacked in place, just a bolt on there, which I will fill with weld. So it'll be as if it was just a solid piece, not welded on. And just for your information, weld is as strong as the product you're welding it to. I will say though, you must prepare the metal properly if you want that kind of performance out of the weld. Now, my control arm is designed so there's a left, that's the right, that one down there's the left, so I can make adjustments to the suspension without changing my shock geometry and positioning as far as how many inches is for compression and how many inches is for tension, which makes it much easier than if you find out that your position of your trailing link is not proper to the position of the chassis. So that is now figured out. Oh, and also right there in the center, even though it wasn't real clear, that's actually a nut. So I can change this even with weight on it. Now the other thing that's kind of interesting is I have the housing for the center section, which holds the ring and pinion gear, tacked in place. People that are used to this kind of work will probably question my decision here, because what I'm doing is that now is becoming part of the chassis, which normally you would have it at least bolted on and you were able to make adjustments to the pinion angle and things like that. But I just had to be a little unique and have people question my understanding of what's going on. It will definitely make a conversation piece. So this is going to be welded solidly to the frame. You'll have a little bit of adjustment for the pinion angle, but pretty much it's set. There will be two more arms, but they'll have adjustment to them. They will come from here somewhere and go down to the bottom of the housing. Those are actually going to be the upper link for a farm tractor's 3-point hitch. I guess really that's all we got to show, but that is a lot as far as having to set that up because the components have to be square and with the right pinion angle. Right now I have it set at 4 degrees. Normally it's 3. So that means I can use my lower, or I'll call them my lower control arms on this to pull back on it, which will then cause it to tip forward. So I'm sure that I'm safe in my positioning. And normally an engine is angled back about 3 degrees, which then makes the drive shaft in proper alignment to it. As long as the two are parallel to each other, they don't have to be on the same plane or in a direct line, but they need to be parallel to each other. All right, I guess that's it for this one. Like I said, the next one, let's do one more thing here. I have this arm set in here, which is just a mock-up, obviously, and that is replaced, in other words, in simulating the shock and spring that's going to go in there. It's a lot shorter, but it gives me about the right angle for where it's going to be when the shock is actually in place. And as I've said, I'm going to cut a hole in the pipe here. It's going to be right around here, and that hole will allow the shock to go back into the tube. And now if it needs to be, I can make it come all the way through with another large hole, or I can make a smaller hole and just have a bracket that goes inside to attach to the shock, the coilover. So that'll be something you'll see in the future, maybe soon, but I pretty much have to buy the coilovers, which are not a cheap item. So I'm not sure how soon I'll do that. At this point, I guess, well, I'm going to mention one other thing. The engine that I had, the block is junk. So now I have to figure out what else to do. Those old flatheads just finally wear out, and that's all it is. But it is what it is, and I'll have to probably buy a short block at least, which is going to run into thousands of dollars. So that's going to slow me down as well. All right. Well, that's it for today, and see you later.